how to start if you don't have a community yet. Of course, I can say a little bit about it, but I want to hear it from you first. So what would you say? Like, I don't have a community. How do I build it?
Yeah, I think that, listen, we're in a unique spot in that we work with sort of pre-existing communities to some degree and sort of bring them together, right, in terms of a school. But, one of the things we're really proud of, Marcella, is that we work with a lot of schools that are just really student-run clubs or organizations that have really, they've really started on their own, right? The school hasn't said, oh, we're sponsoring esports. It's been 5 or 6 players that have come together, say, hey, we want to start a Valorant team and we want to compete in this thing. And we're really proud to work with them. And, I ideally, help foster them and help develop them. Some of our greatest successes are programs that started as those student-run organizations, and they were 5, 6, 7 people, and now all of a sudden they're 50, 60, 70, 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the campus now sees the importance, and the decision makers on the campus are saying, we've got to hire a director or 2 or a coach or 2 or something like that, to help foster and support this community that we have on campus now. So that's really kind of cool. I think that's sort of, I guess, that authentic sort of homegrown feel of like, hey, this started as a couple kids probably in their dorm or whatever, somewhere saying, hey, let's start this thing up. Just like probably any other traditional club on campus to some degree, but this sort of, it's organic in its nature. And then ultimately, in many cases, the school has sort of seen it happen and say, hey, we got to respect this because it's a massive part of our population on our campus. So, we don't really, I don't think of us as community builders necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but I think of us as community supporters in the way that, hey, that school wants to work with us. How can we provide them the best possible experience, provide them the tools, resources, whatever they need, whether it's using our analytics, our data, our things to, build some traction in their own backyard and say, hey, look at this VP or president or dean or associate, whatever. This is real and this is happening, and you need to identify and you need to respect it, most importantly. So I think that's been really cool to work with schools in that way and say, listen, we're not asking for money. We're not asking for, whatever. Come play, and enjoy yourself. Have a good experience, because ultimately, if you show you're sustainable, you show you're legitimate, and you get that respect that you warrant, the school's going to pay attention to it. And they're going to provide you the resources you need. And that's what we're seeing is those dominoes falling of, starting from 5 or 6 kids, 7 or 8 kids starting an esports club or whatever, into varsity and fully fledged programs. So it's really cool to witness.
Yeah, it's growing by just doing what you love, and and people tell about it and so on and so on. I think it's the same with streaming, like I started streaming myself for like 9 years ago, and by then it was very unknown. So it was really hard to sort of grow in a way of like, oh, hey, telling people like I'm a streamer, because they had no idea. But because there was so many streamers in the Netherlands, that gave me like, an opportunity that people found me easier. Right now, definitely after COVID, it has been exploding, and there's so much to watch that, of course, it's harder to be seen. What helped for me quite a lot was that I was hosting for like Blizzard, ESL, and so on. So people saw me hosting events, and then they were like, oh, she's also a streamer, that's cool. So then you were playing the game that you were just hosting in a different country, and then you go back home sitting behind your PC, and the people could literally talk with you while they were just seeing you on a stage, hosting an esport tournament. So for me, that helped quite a lot to build my community, and I have a lot of people who are after, I've done that started doing that in 2015, the first hosting for Blizzard, and that was also like, I have still people who are watching my stream daily after those tournaments. So I think that helped me. People come and go, but there's always sort of this core that will stay. And I think what's quite important to, for me at least, never feel more than your fans or your community. Like be humble to them, be thankful for them, and not be like, oh yeah, of course they're coming because I'm great. Like that's not working. I mean, it could work. There are some really big streamers who have nothing to do with their community, but the community is growing. But that has, that could be with really different ways, like maybe really good player or like a sexy player, or I don't know. So there are so many ways why it could work. But in my case, it helped to be hosting, and I think I'm not like streaming. It's not my main job anymore.